Peace and greetings. Presenting the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, providing in-depth information on society and culture in America and abroad, bringing you truth messages of inspiration, keen insight, reputable interviews, and so much more. So now, for the truth you've been waiting for, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast, Aura, the informationalist.
Yes. Peace and greetings, people. This is Aura the Informationalist, and I'm coming to you live here on my Twitter account, as well as on my YouTube channel. And of course, this show is going to be edited and published at 7 p.m. on my podcast. Now, my podcast is distributed on all networks, on all platforms. So if you want to hear this show audibly, it's going to be available at the Network of Awareness. You can look it up on any podcast like Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Bullhorn, Google Podcasts, and many, many, many more. So brothers and sisters, welcome to Most High Monday. And today we got such a great show. This is part of the Narcissism series, part 6. And this is actually, I think this might be number 7. Might have gotten that wrong. But anyway, this is the Narcissism series, and this is Sleeping with the Enemy 2. Now, what I'm going to do in this particular episode is really discuss some of my personal experiences dealing with a malignant narcissist, as well as I'm going to play a clip from Dr. Ramani, who I believe is one of the leading experts as far as when it comes to clinical psychology in really giving great description to narcissism overall. Now, I'm going to talk about malignant narcissism, and Dr. Ramani is going to just talk about the overall narcissistic behavior that I'm going to play on this show today. And furthermore, we got a lot of interviews that are going to be coming up for season 5, so stay tuned for that as far as the Spiritual Fire on Fellowship series, as well as this series, the Narcissism series. And then, of course, like I released this weekend, the Science Appliance series, which you all know that has to deal with the pandemic and all the things that are going on with that. So let's get this show started, shall we? And just give me 1 second here and get the proper introduction here, as we always do.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
Okay, folks. So don't need my headphones for the rest of this broadcast for now. So people, I just want to say that I'm going to be doing more of these videos from time to time, but with my Roku channel, I'm going to have specific stuff that I'm going to be presenting that is only for my subscription-based subscribers that will be subscribed to my Roku channel, which will be $6.99 a month. And you're going to get a lot of great content from Network of Awareness TV. So the reason I have my insignia in the background, because this is going to be more pertaining to my Roku channel that will eventually be on Fire Stick, iOS, and Android. But for the meantime, this is for promotional purposes, just like this episode is for educational purposes. I want to make a disclaimer. I am not a clinical psychologist. I am not an expert in the narcissism field, like a clinical psychologist or a life coach or someone who coaches codependency and people who have gone through narcissistic abuse. But I do find myself to be a professional in the sense that I've had a professional experience with a malignant narcissist that I was in a relationship with and that I thought I was married to. And the reason why I say I thought I was married to, because what I deemed as marriage, this other person didn't. And obviously, what I thought I was in was really just a lie. It was a big facade. It was a big bamboozlement of just toxic behavior that I tolerated for quite some time. Actually, a shorter time than most people, because mine was more digital. Mine was more phone calls, FaceTime, and there was physical interaction, but it was very limited. Now, were there plans for me to live with this narcissist? Absolutely. But all praise to the Most High that did not happen, because then I would have really been in for a world of problems, more than what I already had on my hands. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss malignant narcissism, and I'm going to give you some insight into that, and also some of the things to do that I've done that have really helped me in moving on from this narcissistic abuse. Now, to a certain degree, I'm going to tell you that the healing process does take time. As far as with me, obviously the healing process will take time, just like with anybody. But what happened with me is that I did not spend that physical quality time like many of you have. So many of you have lived with these types of people for 10, 15, 20 years, 5 years, which to me, I even the thought of it, even the thought of being with someone like I was with for that many years in the same household, it's a recipe for disaster. And I know somebody like myself probably would have caught a case, or probably would have wound up in jail or dead being with a person like this for a long period of time. Because to the core of these types of people, whether it's malignant, covert, whatever type of personality trait of the specific narcissistic type, malignant being the worst of them all, according to many professionals, because they have a wide variety of things we're going to talk about. There's a little bit of sociopath and a little bit of psychopath within these people, but just a tad bit. Some have more than others. But at the end of the day, they are wicked to the core. When I say wicked to the core, I truly mean it, people. And just to give you an idea of what it's like, I am going to pull up an actual, this is going, for those that listen to my podcast as well, which I don't strongly suggest that you subscribe to my podcast either through my website, networkofawareness.com, or you can just subscribe from any listening platform. So I have a lot of people that subscribe to me from Spreaker, from Apple Podcasts. I have people that subscribe to me through Spotify, through Bullhorn, pretty much any podcasting platform. You can subscribe to my show. Now, I want to pull up the actual diagram, or should I say artwork, of what you brothers and sisters are going to be seeing when the podcast airs. Now, the reason I decided to do this live show, because I wasn't going to air this until 7 p.m., but it's just a lot easier for me time-wise, because if I have to edit the video plus the audio, it takes a lot of time. And I do this all by myself. Eventually, I'll have a team doing this for me. But in the meantime, we got to do what we got to do. So it's a lot easier to just give it to you live and direct. So let me show you what the actual image is going to look like. And here we go. So here it goes, folks. And wait a second. I guess it can't share the diagram. Now, I shared it on my I shared these tabs on my whatchamacallit. Here we go. Let's see if it comes out. There it goes, folks. Boy, like that's where it's at, people. That is where it's at. Let's see if we can switch this up here. So as you can see here, just in this artwork alone, It says a hell of a lot. And this diagram, or should I say this artwork, it says 1,000 words. Now, I can tell you from my personal experiences that this is what it felt like when I would lay next to this person, not even really realizing the type of person they are. But you see how the eyes are? Like this is, to me, and this is my personal opinion, I feel like these people truly have demons on them because everything is spiritual. And these people, even though they have a deep sense of insecurity, they come from a very low self-esteem. That's why they constantly need validation. They constantly need approval and praise. They really got demons on them. And I'm going to tell you a little story about that in a little bit. But this, and it's not just for females. I know I'm going to give you my perspective because I'm a heterosexual man. All right. I only sleep with women. So I can only give you from my perspective. But this goes for both sides. This goes for both genders, male or female. Because just like the female can be very wicked and evil as far as when it comes to malignant narcissism, also it's the same thing with the males. And a lot of times the males have it where they make a lot of money and that status they use against their partner, the female, whether it's a spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend type of deal. With the female, it could be money, but most of the time it's with sex. It's with sex and a lot of things that pertain to sex, not just the actual act itself. So just keep that in mind. Thankfully for me, and I've mentioned this on part 1 of Sleeping with the Enemy, is that my intimacy and my relations when it came to sex with my ex-malignant partner, my malignant narcissist partner, was very mediocre to say the least. And a lot of guys will understand this, and females too. A lot of us stay in relationships because the sex is so good. And if you ever heard that saying, which in my case, it didn't pertain to it, but you ever heard that saying where they'll say, oh, you know, those crazy people are the ones that have the best sex. And I used to believe that to be true. But in my case, even though this person was a nut job and a malignant narcissist, it wasn't the case. It wasn't where the intercourse was remarkable or something to be in awe of. It was something quite mediocre. It wasn't what I'm normally used to. Shalom, sister. Thank you for joining the live broadcast. I just seen your post. So shalom to you and peace and blessings to you and your family. And may the Most High favor you with much opportunity in these present times that we're living in these days and revelations. Also, people, keep in mind this too, is that I got to tell you, like, I'm laughing here because, you know, and I'm not proud to say this, but in my younger years, because now, you know, now that I'm pushing halfway to 50 years old, I look back on it now. And, you know, when I was in my early 20s, I was very promiscuous. And not that I was, you know, looking for women like a hound dog or anything like that, but just sex came to me very, like, easily. Like, women were throwing themselves at me back in the days. It was coming very quickly. And because I wasn't raised in the manner on how to deal with that stuff, I kind of dealt with it recklessly. I kind of just accepted what came my way. But because of that, I had a lot of sexual experiences where some of them were pretty intense. I'm not going to lie, especially with the crazy ones. I mean, had that type of intercourse that, you know, make your head spin, you know, where you're dripping in a puddle of sweat and stuff like that. But a lot of times there are narcissists that will perform in that manner, so to speak. Like, they will perform great when it comes to the matters of in bed. But unfortunately for me, or should I say fortunately, really, if I think about it, fortunately for me, that wasn't the case. You know, it wasn't, let's just put it like this, mediocre to say at best. And I think that was one of my saving graces, besides the fact that the Most High was revealing things to me at the appropriate time because I prayed on it and I fast. And this is something that I suggest to people that are in a narcissistic relationship or maybe are going to start realizing after they listen to this show and view it, they're going to say to themselves, wow, I'm in a narcissistic relationship and I didn't even know it. Let's stop sharing this screen for a minute. Okay. Give me a second, folks. Okay, so let's talk about this because this thing is so real. Something to realize when you're watching this is that you might be in that relationship right now and don't even realize it. And if you are, I hope that this video and this show, whether you listen to it audibly or watch it, is going to bring you some peace of mind in regards to this and allow you to move forward, because this is a matter of life and death, people. You heard me say this before, and I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. This is a matter of life and death. This is why I committed to doing a series of this. Now, fortunately, I got out of this relationship. It's behind me. And I also can say to you this, is that last week I met a woman that I'm now friends with. And obviously, I'm going to move extremely slow. When I mean slow, like the turtle slow. Just because there's things that I have to take care of. But it's just quite amazing how this woman that I met, when it comes to meekness, how much I appreciate the meekness that the scriptures talks about. There's a certain thing now that I look for because of this abuse, where it's like, I used to think that I would be attracted to a woman with confidence. But you see, a woman that's boisterous with her confidence is something that's now, for me, a turnoff. It's like, no. I don't really want that, because I've experienced that and I don't want to experience that anymore. But there's a certain level of confidence that a woman has in her meekness that is so stoic that I'm actually getting to see now. And I'm in awe of it. Like, I got to be honest, like it's very pleasing to the spirit, to my heart, and to my mind to witness this with the woman that I'm getting to know right now, because it's one of those situations where when you deal with a malignant narcissist, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, they are going to show you a representative like no other, people. And when I mean like no other, they're going to show you a representative that is going to have you like, wow, this person is amazing. They're going to be very flattering. They're going to be extremely charming. They're going to be extremely confident. That's one of the things that attracted me to this woman that I used to be in a relationship with, was her confidence and the way she would exemplify that confidence or project that confidence in a manner that I thought was good. But a lot of that is coming from a deep-rooted sense of insecurity. It's all a big act. It's like you're in a movie that's being filmed, but you are unaware of it. It's like The Truman Show. If you ever seen The Truman Show with Drew Carey, check it out. Wonderful movie, great movie, a lot of symbolism, a lot of subliminal messaging, a lot to take from that movie. So if you haven't watched The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, definitely check that movie out. I probably will even do a breakdown on my Roku channel about that movie, because that's what I felt like. And if you remember, anybody that saw that movie, Jim Carrey's married to a woman who's also an actor that's pretending to be his wife. And a lot of my relationship was just like that, where it was like the person that I was with had a role to play, and they had something to gain from that role to play and nothing else. It wasn't because they loved me. It wasn't because they cared about me. It wasn't because they had my best interest at heart. It's always about their best interest. And something that I'm going to play from Dr. Ramani is how when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, like I was with a malignant narcissist, it's a threesome. It's a threesome. And she's going to talk a lot about that. You see, because I personally believe now, based on everything that's happened, is that when I got into a relationship with this malignant narcissist, she already had multiple supplies of energy that she was dealing with. I was just unaware of it because I was developing this relationship long distance. Now, if I would have been in person developing this relationship consistently, going to her place of stay, my place of stay, going out to places together within her own community that she lives in, oh boy, would I have found out a lot of things. But of course, like the narcissist, because they're so cunning and so deceitful, one of the things that my ex-partner did was literally not want to meet me in her hometown and had a bunch of excuses, like, oh, let's go to New Orleans. I want you to see what's out there. I want you to see the culture and all that. Knowing that I really didn't give, I didn't really care for that. And I'll be honest with you. And it's no disrespect to New Orleans, but I don't plan on going back there because it's one of the dirtiest places that I ever been to in my life. And people, I grew up in New York City. So if I'm telling you that it was dirty, and I grew up in one of the most dirtiest cities in the history of this world, it's just tell you a hell of a lot. And it's no knock on New Orleans. I think that the culture, to a certain degree, is beautiful to a certain degree. But of course, there's a lot of witchcraft there too that you got to be careful of, which I personally believe that my ex-partner had some dabblings in, definitely with the white witchcraft, the white magic. For sure. I already know that for a fact. Probably try to put spells on me or try to get me back or whatever for whatever I know. But all praises to the Most High that I met this woman because, technically, if you was a person that was living with a narcissist in a long-term relationship, I wouldn't suggest, and it's not suggested, that you get to know anybody for a long period of time. And see, with me, it wasn't that long. I got out of that relationship pretty quickly. All praises for that. That's why I'm able to just move on swiftly because they didn't really have a profound effect on me emotionally. They did for a short period of time, but it had a profound effect on me moving forward with my life to really see what is of value. And more importantly, for me personally, I have to learn how to set boundaries. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why in getting to know this person that I am now, there's nothing that's being established except just a platonic friendship. But I'm so amazed that sometimes we don't realize what we're missing out of until we deal with certain people like a narcissist. Because once you can get over it, people, I'm telling you, once you can get over that, yes, for sure. Once you can get over that, it's a beautiful thing because you really know what these toxic people are like. And you can identify so that if you come across this person in the workplace or if you're dating, you could cut that cord quick and have completely separate yourself respectably. Because that's what I had to do. I had to come to a state of peace to dismiss myself respectably. See, the reason why just like my ex-partner, the reason why they want to keep you around is because you are such a good person. Because they don't normally meet people like you. They'll meet men or women, but those men and women are going to come with certain conditions and certain boundaries right off the bat. Whereas people that are very empathetic like myself, sometimes we are poor boundary setters. So what we wind up becoming is these very, we become the enabler for the narcissist. We become their walking mat because we have such great love and compassion. And I know I did. I know that me personally, I tolerated so much disrespect. Disrespect that sometimes, and this is what I'm still healing from. It's not so much the pain of being cheated on or being disrespected or being lied to or being completely deceived for the amount of time I was in this relationship. It's not that. The healing process for me, and this goes for a lot of men and women. And if you're listening to this, it's okay. You are a human being. You didn't do nothing wrong. I'm here to tell you didn't do nothing wrong. The part that it's difficult to deal with is like, how did I let this happen to me? That's what really messes with your mind, people. And I can tell you from personal experience that I still go through it present time. Is how did I let this piece of you know what get the best of me? And then I have to equate it like it's been counseled to me, is that this person was a couple of 100 miles away from you. What did you expect? You're not there to see what's actually happening. So I had to completely really, really hone down on understanding that and be like, all right, I forgive myself because guess what? I wasn't there to see. So it was easy for this particular person to deceive me like that. It was like a piece of cake for them. Now, if I would have been in their presence, living with them, being around them in the same town on a regular basis, I can guarantee you, just because I know how I am, I can guarantee you that they would have had to put in extra work to get the best of me because I would have caught it. You know, I'll give you a perfect example of things that I was catching. When my ex-partner, my malignant narcissist that I was dealing with, when she came to visit me in my hometown here in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, one thing that she did that I found interesting, here's a woman that is constantly on her phone, constantly checking social media, constantly looking on YouTube and other things, right? All of a sudden, this is what happened. It makes me laugh because I can only laugh about it now because it's quite comical, but it was very serious at the time, is that as soon as she got into the house and as soon as we started hanging out, spending time together, that cell phone went completely off. She turned it off. And what did she tell me? I said, why are you turning off your cell phone? Why not just leave it on? Oh, why? Because she wants to give me her undivided attention. Yes, folks. And you have to look at the patterns. See, the thing with a narcissist, if they have a pattern of doing something and then they just completely break off of it, that's a red flag, people. That is a sign showing you that there is something wrong, that there's something rotten in Denmark here. All right? Keep that in mind. Because when that phone turned off, immediately I was just like, wait a second. And I even questioned it. But that's something you don't want to do. Don't question them. Just keep it right here. Don't bring it up. Don't listen. I'm going to give you a lot of tips today for educational purposes. Don't let them know what you're thinking. Ever. Once you figure out who they are, don't let them know what you are thinking. Ever. Keep those thoughts to yourself. Share them with your friends, your family that you have that close circle with, but keep that to yourself. And also make sure that you have a strong support system because a lot of us don't. Fortunately, I did. But make sure you keep that to yourself. Don't bring it up in conversation. Just make a mental note of it and start moving accordingly from there to hopefully get away from this person. All right? Now, what I want to do real quick is I am going to play a clip here from Dr. Ramani. And I'm just going to have her break down this, these types of narcs that we deal with. So give me a second, folks. I'm just going to pull that up here. And I got to tell you, it's quite amazing to see this stuff, people. So let's see if I can pull this up. And this is going to be from Dr. Ramani. And this is from YouTube. She goes by, dr.ramani. You can find that pretty much media handle everywhere. And she has some great videos that she was interviewed on Med Circle. That's where originally I saw her, was on Med Circle. But there's a lot of other people, as far as clinical psychologists, that share this great information. Okay, cool. All right. So people, give me 1 second here as I want to just make this page a little bit bigger if I can. And I'm going to see if I can do that now. Let's see if we can make this page a little bit bigger. All right. So there we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this play out. And then, of course, I'm going to chime in accordingly with this. Doing the boot dirtier than NYC. Damn, the boot dirtier. Yeah, Sister Nama, the boot is dirtier than NYC, believe it or not. It's just a certain energy field in New Orleans that I just wasn't resonating with. And I don't know if it's because of the witchcraft that's practiced there. I don't know if it's because the overwhelming use of drugs and alcohol that's in the air. But it could probably, I think it's just a combination of all those things. But it also could have been because I was with a narc. I was with a malignant narcissist. So how much real fun could I have had, right? Because the fun that I was having was very misleading, to say the least, right? So let's dig into this, people. And what I want to do here real quick is make sure that I could play it. All right, people. So here's Dr. Ramani breaking it down. Let's go.
Okay, so here's my thought for the day. I do believe that every narcissistic relationship is a threesome. And you might be like, Dr. Ramani, say what? And before we get to that point and the why and the what of that, please do subscribe. If you do end up liking this video, please drop a comment or say hello or give a thumbs up, because we'd love to hear from you, because this is a bit of a saucy topic, right? So you're thinking, really, Dr. Ramani, every narcissistic relationship is a threesome? What do you mean by that? Well, it's true. And it's all about the triangulation. Triangulation isn't just about gossip and people turning people against other people. It goes a bit deeper than that. Now, by now, if you've been watching this channel, reading everything you've read about narcissism, you already know what the narcissistic relationship cycle is. You probably know it better than an expert does at this point, right? Love bomb, devalue, discard, hoover, rinse, lather, repeat. We know the cycle. However,
events are back.
So rinse, lather, repeat. Everything she's saying is going to make a lot of sense, because that's what they do. They rinse, lather, repeat. It's not going to surprise me, people, if, I wouldn't be surprised that the narc that I was with is already dealing with that narcissistic supply that she already had cheated on me with. And I'm assuming, just based on the way she went about it, people, let me just pause it here. I'm assuming that it's a young guy, somebody that's in their 20s. I just have that feeling. Only because I couldn't see a grown man doing what she does, or doing what they did with her while she was with me. But then again, I don't know. I just it's just an intuitive feeling. But I could tell you that that's what they do. They rinse, recycle, and repeat, because they constantly need attention. And they're going to try to get it with whoever. And they're going to sleep with whoever. That's why I strongly suggest that if you were with a narcissist and you leave them, you should definitely get yourself self-checked out for any sexually transmitted diseases, because they are so wicked, people, that they're going to cheat on you, and they're going to do it in the worst way. All right. And I just have a feeling that when I laid down with this person, I just wasn't sleeping with this person. I think I was sleeping with a couple of other men, unfortunately. So be aware of that, because let me tell you something about adultery. Back in the days, in biblical times, people that were found guilty of adultery, they were literally killed. And not that I think that should happen these days, but I understand why. Because it is such a wicked act. And the Most High don't like ugly. And that's why I leave all my vengeance to the Most High. I even pray for this woman, because at the end of the day, I can't have that strife in my heart. And that's another thing, people. You can't hold strife for these people in your heart. I know it's easier said than done, but you can't, because then you wind up becoming just like them. And the reality is that you are not like them. You are so far from being like them. But the only way you can know that is by truly healing and rediscovering yourself even better than you once knew yourself before. because narcissistic people can have a tendency to bombard your brain and literally change the circuitry of how the neural pathways work and how you identify with the world and with yourself to where you can completely lose yourself. All right? Just keep that in mind. So let's let Dr. Ramani continue here.
Gotta tell you, just about every narcissistic relationship I've ever heard about seems to have a third or a fourth or a fifth person in it. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? Why is that? It's all about triangulation. So you know this. We've talked about this. Triangulation is a way for the narcissist to maintain a sense of power and domination, and something we have talked about a lot on this channel. There are different ways this sort of non-consensual threesominess can go down. So let me give you some examples so you know what I mean about the sort of threesome nature of all narcissistic relationships. You're in an intimate relationship with someone, or romantic relationship, and they're always staring at other people or noticing other people, not in a subtle way, in a sort of rude and obvious way when they are in your presence. Or mentioning people, I don't know, people they know, people they've met at work, or people from other contexts in their life repeatedly, usually in how much that other person's so smart, or so fun, or they talk about what they're wearing and how much they admire each other. And they talk about them just enough that you wonder if something inappropriate is happening between your partner and that person that they.
Absolutely. And just to chime in real quick, people, this was done to me when she came to visit me in Florida. Mind you, when we first started to get to know each other in the honeymoon stage, okay, this is where they'll love bomb you. They're going to be the best person ever. And they're going to be very charming and flattering, amongst other things. One of the things that this woman used to tell me is she's like, oh, men don't notice me. They literally just walk past me. There's something different about my spirit these days, ever since I committed myself to the Most High, blah, 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 right? All this stuff. But then all of a sudden, once we got together, she's like, oh, men are starting to notice me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that was a big lie. But what was interesting in regards to what Dr. Ramani is saying is that she had to go to the post office to supposedly see. I have to use this word when referring to this woman right now. Like, I feel like everything I discuss when it comes to her has to have the word supposedly in front of it. It's literally like allegedly and supposedly. But allegedly and supposedly, she was supposed to send out something in the mail. And what's interesting is that she ordered an Uber. Now, I was going to go with her, but I decided to stay home because I was prepping stuff to cook for her, right? Because that's what I did when she spent time with me, is I cooked for her. And, that's just the type of man I am. Not that I'm going to be cooking for my woman all the time, but it's something that I think that can be equally shared. Now, what she told me was when she came back, she's like, oh, the Uber driver was hitting on me. He said that I had a fat badonkey or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Now, what she told me could have been true, but the reaction that she gave me was just like, I was like, oh, did he see your ring and all that? And she was like, yeah, but he didn't care. And, so it's like, I don't know what to believe, but this is the type of stuff that they do. And this is what Dr. Ramani is talking about. And it's like they do it so much that you really, if you're not paying attention, it just becomes very second nature and common for you to hear this type of stuff, so that you either don't think nothing of it, or sometimes, like Dr. Ramani just said, is that you're going to think of it in a manner like, hey, is something going on here? And I thought about that with several people that she spoke of that I knew of as well. Let's continue.
They're always mentioning. Or your partner talks about their former partners and ex-partners and ex-girlfriends a bit too much. Or your partner compares you a lot to other people. Initially, this may seem like passing comments, but as you enter the devalue and then definitely into the discard cycle, it becomes downright mean. Saying things like, well, why can't you make as much money as such and such? Or my brother's wife managed to get the baby weight off. Like really kinds of mean compare-y things. Or having strange boundaries with family or friends. And these folks.
And that's another thing. Those strange boundaries with family and friends, she had tons of them. You know, supposedly she didn't have any relationships with any of her family. She hated her father. She hated her sister. She didn't like her daughter. You know, supposedly she had a great relationship with her son, but yet her son, you know, stopped staying at the house for some reason, which I don't know why that happened. All of a sudden this kid was there, and next thing you know, he's not staying there. He's with his father the whole time. So be aware when you're dealing with these types of people, look at your partner's relationship with their family. Now, I could tell you that there's certain family members that I care to speak to anymore as well. But I still love all my family. It's like there's just certain family members I'd rather not deal with, but I love all my family. And I still like, if I was to see whether the family I do like or don't like, I'm still going to love on them and appreciate them, you know, even though I may not like certain characteristics of their personality or whatever. So I only can tolerate them for, you know, a certain amount of time. But pay close attention to that, because I can tell you with my malignant narcissist, just a lot of toxicity within the family dynamic, according to her. You see, and the reason I have to say according to her is because when you're dealing with your partner, it's always according to them, right? You're not going to really know the true story until you get to see the other parties involved. And unfortunately, I didn't get to experience that and get to meet the sister or get to meet the father and all this other stuff. So just keep that in mind, people.
These sort of people, these families, these friends, who are often the narcissist's enablers or their supply, can often become a constant presence sort of in your relationship. And they're there to constantly prop up the narcissist, which then gives the narcissist even more power and leaves you more isolated. Or kind of shady, uncomfortable social media behavior, like your partner liking inappropriate photos posted by other people, or DMing or seeming to have.
And that's another thing that was a red flag for me. She had posted, I wouldn't say it was an inappropriate photo, but it was definitely like one of those photos where it's like she's kind of putting herself on the market. And she literally did that after I approached her, asking her if we can get to know each other on a more intimate level than just a platonic friendship that we had. And of course, she said yes right away. And then not even a day or two after that, she's posting this post on Instagram, and I called her up and checked her on it. I'm like, yo, that doesn't look like a woman that's spoken for. And of course, she's like, oh, I didn't know I was spoken for. And I'm like thinking to myself, we just had this long conversation about how we're going to develop a relationship intimately between just us two. But you see, even though I caught what she did, I didn't look into it strong enough. I didn't take it into consideration enough because I never really dealt with a narcissist as far as in an intimate relationship with a woman. I've never been with a narcissistic woman like this. So I didn't know. I didn't realize it. Now I caught it. Of course, she took it down and was like, oh, I'm not going to do that again, which she probably has like literally 5 accounts. You know what I mean? This woman was changing accounts. Pay close attention to how they move on social media. So what Dr. Ramani is saying is so on point, people. When you especially, and she educated me, the narcissist educated me on this, that where when people are, you know, basically changing accounts or canceling or pulling posts, that's behavior, people, that you just don't want to deal with. That person has something to hide. That person is a liar. That person is most likely a narcissist. And you're better off just detaching yourself from that moment when you start to see these red flags than giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? Because like I told you, no more benefits of the doubt, because giving people the benefit of the doubt is what brings you more pain, is what puts you in predicaments where sometimes you get pushed into a hole that you can't climb out of, or it takes a long time to get out of.
Rather emotionally intimate and inappropriate relationships with people in that space, which feels disrespectful to you. Or they're constantly flirting. They tend to flirt with restaurant servers, store clerks, bartenders, reception staff. And if you point it out, they tell you that you're too sensitive.
Okay, let's let this play out. This is about polygamy. It's crazy. But let's let this commercial play out real quick, and we'll go back to Dr. Ramani.
About these things that happened in their day-to-day lives that give them supply. And they do that a lot, not just once. So they'll come home and say things like, oh, someone asked me for my number today, or a person in the grocery store wanted to know if I was single and they thought I was hot, or...
Yes, they do it a lot, people. They do it a lot. Now, I can tell you that when I go out, and I've done this before too, like when I go out, that's why I started questioning. I was like, wait, am I a narcissist here? Because when I go out, I do get hit on. And sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's very direct. And I remember sharing that with her a couple of times. And I was just being honest. But then after, getting to know about narcissistic behavior, I said to myself, I'm never going to do that again. Like if somebody hits on me, I'm going to keep that to myself. I'm not going to share that with my partner because it's really irrelevant to tell your partner that you got hit on. You know what I mean? It's like, for what? So, because that's narcissistic behavior. And that's not the type of behavior, especially if you're not a narcissist, that you want to be conducting yourselves in, because it can become very toxic. All right? So just keep that in mind. If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, respect is so important. Respect that person. And have some boundaries for not just for the relationship, but for yourself as well. All right? Just keep that in mind. Because that's something I've done in the past as well.
Remember that guy that we were talking to at the gym? Well, he told me that you better treat me good because he would be ready to swoop in because you're so lucky to have me. It's always like this kind of like, why are you always talking about these other people? Now, keep in mind, for this to be a thing, there needs to be sort of a plausible element to all of this. Obviously, if the person being hit on is laughing about the one time this happened in the last 10 years and is sharing it, I don't know, in silly jest, like, yo, I went to the grocery store in my pajamas last night and someone told me I was pretty and you both laugh about it. I'm not talking about those stories. I'm saying time after time after time, they're talking about how everybody is hitting on them, right? We're talking about that narcissistic person who's going out into the world looking for validation, and they're definitely getting it, and they feel the need to share it with you as their partner. Listen, if you can think of other examples where narcissistic people always seem to bring other people into your relationship, and other examples where you felt like in your relationship you almost had to keep making space for another person, please drop it in the comments. I'm just giving a short list. It'll be interesting to see what other people's stories are like. So you might be thinking, then what the hell is all this threesome triangulation about?
And she's going to break that down very eloquently and right to the point. But the reality is that this is very, like she said, this is very consistent behavior. This is not the run of the mill, like I went in my pajamas and somebody said I look pretty, or I put my jogging pants on and I look like a bum, but a girl told me that I was very handsome. I'm not talking about that, neither is she. We're talking about this consistent third party that you are unaware of, that she's always or he's always bringing up. And they're always trying to do it to not only let you know, like, hey, there's somebody waiting in the wings. If you better appreciate this while you got it, because somebody else might want to grab it. But it's also for the purposes to see if you'll get jealous. Because if you can get jealous, then they're like, oh, like, that is like a high for them. That is like the psychic vampire that gets to suck the energetic blood. That's like a vampire that gets their blood. They just get a little bit, and they're just like, They get that adrenochrome, and it just puts them in a state of bliss. So be aware of that, because that's something that is also very, very real. Let's continue.
Well, it's a few things. It's the narcissist sort of saying to you, hey, you better watch out because other people notice me. And basically, I could get new supply without saying that out loud. It's just the narcissist almost kind of putting you on edge. And I really do believe it's a projection of how they always feel on edge and how they fear rejection and fear abandonment. It relates to their impulsivity and their poor boundaries. It relates to their entitlement. They believe truly that they can they walk around saying, I can do what I want, I can say what I want, and I don't really care who it affects. It's a way to keep you in your place in the relationship, again, by keeping you on watch. Basically, the message is you better not fall out of line because your replacement is right around the corner. At least that's sort of insinuated. It's about maintaining control through humiliation, which can then lead to self-devaluation in the person in the relationship. All of this also fosters a bigger buy-in for you in the relationship. It strengthens the cognitive dissonance. Because let's face it, we as people, we instinctively want something more if we suspect someone else wants it. Come on, how often have you purchased some piece of junk that you didn't need because it was the last one that was available or they were selling out, right?
And what she said about the humiliation, they're so good at that. They're so good at trying or humiliating you. And they can do it in a variety of ways, people. And listen, and the reason why we're doing this, people, is because there's a lot of you that are going through this right now. It's a lot of people that are listening to this right now or are going to be listening and downloading this show. And you are experiencing this. And it's time to get out sooner than later, because I'm telling you from personal experience, once you get out this relationship or that type of relationship, it's like a 1,000 pounds of pressure just completely lifts off your shoulders. And you just start walking a lot lighter and a lot like more peacefully. You have that peace of mind that slowly but surely starts to build up and strengthen with time and with dedication to purposefully healing yourself by forgiving yourself and getting back to doing things you used to do and getting back to doing things that you haven't done and starting to do them now.
It gives the narcissist power because it plays on your insecurity, because we all have insecurity about this, of being compared to someone else. And after about probably 3 months in a narcissistic relationship, most people feel like they are not enough. The triangulation can also take another interesting path. It's about
I can tell you from my own personal experiences, I started to feel towards the ending of the relationship, right when I was feeling like this is not for me, and I was ending things because I ended this relationship, is that you start feeling like, hey, I'm not good enough for this person. But the reality I'm telling you right now, people, and just make a note of this, write it down, don't forget it. You were more than enough for this person. You was probably the best thing that ever happened to this person. And they may realize that once you're long gone, or they might ever, and I'm not going to say that they will, because when it comes to a narcissist, this ain't their first time rodeo when they've done this to you. They've done this to other people too. So just keep that in mind, because these people are some of the crappiest individuals, in my opinion, that you can ever meet. They are some of the worst of the worst. They are just horrible, horrible individuals. And it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I feel like these types of individuals, they need to just either be with another person that's just like them or be completely by themselves, instead of abusing people that have empathy, people that have morals, people that have pure intentions in the way they go about their life.
About them being suspicious of your fidelity. Narcissistic people, pretty much as a rule, are really jealous, but it can almost feel like a paranoid, almost delusional jealousy. It's not uncommon for them to accuse you of talking to a person, I don't know, at the hardware store or the grocery store too long.
And people, let me tell you something. I experienced this in person with my ex-partner, and I experienced this over the phone with them. I experienced this on video chats. I experienced this a lot throughout the entire relationship. If I told them that a particular woman that I do business with contacted me, it was a problem. There's this extreme jealous rage that came out. Then I was being accused of sleeping with this woman. There was a comment that was made about me by another narcissist that I used to follow his platform, And he's more of a grandiose narcissist. He's the typical narcissist that really thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread and, he can't do nothing wrong and he's just the best ever, right? He considers himself to be a messenger of the Most High, which I find a joke. But what's interesting is that he had made a comment saying that I had a woman in St. Petersburg, Florida. And of course, just by him saying that from one narc to another, that narc that I was with was using that against me, saying, oh, you got this woman. And it's like, and they go so deep with it that it just makes your head spin. Now, I can tell you that I didn't have anybody here in St. Pete or any for that matter. I'm a type of person, I've always been loyal. Like, I'm a type of person where if I'm going to be with you, I'm just going to be with you. And if I don't want to be with you no more, then I'm going to break up with you. And if I want to be with other people, then I'll go be with those other people. But I'm not going to, live a double life. To me, I just feel like there's so much. It's hard enough being with one person, let alone juggling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different men or women in your life when you're in a relationship. It's insane. But to a narcissist, it's all about the energy supply. So it really doesn't matter to them. But what she's discussing right now, I experienced it full force, people, to the very end. And in reality, what she was projecting onto me is exactly what she was doing to me, to the T. Every time she accused me of being with somebody, she was with somebody. And a lot of times when she would do that and she would hang up with me, she was probably engaging in inappropriate behavior with these people behind my back. I know that for a fact now. So let's keep it going.
Why were you making eyes at the guy at the grocery store, right? They'll wonder why you were home late from work when you already told them it was a big deadline and you were calling them from the office and calling them on the way home.
Yes.
They will keep asking you questions about, I don't know, a colleague or someone that you have not yet mentioned.
They're going to make something out of nothing, people.
That there's someone new that you're friends with. They will compare themselves to your ex-partner or partners, even when you're not at all comparing them to the ex. It's not passing conversation. It's as though the narcissist assumes that you.
If I told you.
Boy, these commercials, boy, they don't stop playing, do they? All right, let's go back.
Unfaithful. That you're the one who's triangulating. That you are the one thinking about someone else. They'll even go weird with this. Like they'll see like a family member of yours, an attractive family member on your Instagram feed that is somehow like a sibling to you and is somehow a threat to you. All of this is a mixed up manifestation, obviously, of their own insecurity. And
she did that to me with a picture of my cousin that I had from a long time ago. It's like, and people, they're just reaching. They're reaching because they are so insecure and they're trying to build that insecurity within yourself. And a lot of times you will start to question yourself. Even though you know you're not cheating, you'll start to question if there's something within your own behavior that is actually causing them to behave like this. And I'm here to tell you from somebody who experienced this firsthand, there's nothing you're doing. Put it like this. When I showed you that diagram, you're literally dealing with a demon. You're dealing with something that is beyond physical comprehension. Okay? Keep that in mind. But there are signs that this demonic behavior will reveal and patterns will be developed and broken for you to be aware, to see it for what it is, and then move accordingly. Because you got to move in the spirit. And I strongly suggest, before we continue, that if you are somebody that's having these questions develop in your mind right now, or these are questions that have been pending in your brain for quite some time, start fasting. If you could fast for a whole day and start to evaluate these things, in my personal experiences, when I was doing that, the Most High was revealing so much to me because I didn't have any toxins in my body. My mind was clear. So I definitely suggest that if you're somebody that's going through these horrific experiences with a narc, start to fast so you can see things clearly. And by getting that clarity, it's going to give you that confidence that you need to move past this and to completely detach yourself. because that's the best thing you can do, is to leave a narcissist in the rearview mirror and don't look back.
Their projection of probably some of their bad deeds, their need to think that they're in a fight with someone else over you. Otherwise, the relationship isn't as interesting. And as well as the suspiciousness that often characterizes narcissism. So although you are completely committed and faithful to your relationship, you may constantly have accusations thrown at you that you're not, or that there's something sort of dodgy about your behavior. And in a way, and this is where it gets really dicey, narcissists almost seem to be more interested in you and simultaneously enraged at you if they perceive that there's some third persons or third parties kind of.
Yes, what she said is so on point, because that's exactly what I experienced. And just keep in mind, whenever they're accusing you of these types of things, it's because what they're doing behind your back when committing adultery or fornicating or doing anything that is disrespectful to you with someone else, whether it be a man or a woman, just keep that in mind, that that's what they're doing. They are so deeply, heavily rooted in this type of behavior, to the way that they have to continue this behavior to throw you off course. Because see, this is all to lead you astray. To throw you off the course and to throw you off the path, they have to do this to you, because then it takes the attention away from what they're really doing, and from you being aware to start to catch notice to this pattern of behavior of deceit. So the best way for them to do this is by making you start to question yourself, because if you're questioning yourself, then you're not questioning them. Right, brothers and sisters? Let's continue.
Flirting with you or you're flirting with them. Lots of people will feel that the narcissistic person is more interested in them when the narcissist suspects that someone else is interested in you. Like I said, these relationships are always sort of a threesome. Now, as we know, infidelity is the narcissist's ground game. And I am sorry, but I really struggle with this concept of the healthy parts of infidelity, like this idea that infidelity can.
One thing she said that is so true. Infidelity is the groundwork for a narcissist. And I know from personal experiences that with the narc that I was with, that was a malignant narcissist, that was her groundwork. She was had a deep, heavy foundation of that groundwork, okay? More than I probably even really want to know, to be honest with you, all right? Because it really doesn't matter to me at this point. I'm just so grateful that I'm done with this bird, with this chicken head, or whatever you want to call them. Because that's what they are. They're chicken heads, they're birds, they're, if it was a male, they're just worthless. They're punks. They're not worth your time. These people are deplorable, to say the least. Let's continue.
Make a relationship stronger. I've been a therapist for a really long time, and I have worked with many clients who have experienced or have engaged in infidelity. I have no judgment about it, but I got to tell you, I've never seen one of those relationships become stronger ever. I have seen hurt, I've seen betrayal, I've seen it result in self-doubt and anxiety and anger, but never growth. Now, narcissistic folks need validation. They're entitled, they lack empathy, they're impulsive, and all of this is a recipe for relationship betrayal. Infidelity is the most obvious form of triangulation in a relationship. The narcissistic person gets a perverse sort of power from it, a sort of spoiled child getting away with something.
And I can tell you from my experience, folks, I remember after a while, it was like several months into a relationship, one thing I used to always say to my ex-partner was, you're very spoiled. Like, your family spoiled you. I feel like your mom spoiled you. Your father spoiled you. I started to see this behavior because they very much act like a child. And in a lot of aspects, they are still a child. They still haven't grown up and matured into adulthood. And this is what they do. It's so perverse, like she said. it's like, and I could tell you from my own personal experience that when this person was cheating on me, that's the energy that they were projecting through the FaceTime chat that we were having. It was like this perverse behavior that they were doing right under my nose, and it was quite exciting for them. And then once I started realizing that there was something going on, they were working overtime to try to make me think that I was crazy. Okay? And that's what they do. So let's continue.
But the stakes, which are often another person's mental health, don't even register for the narcissist. And again, there's that lack of empathy, which is often playing a role here. But this sort of triangulated nature of all narcissistic relationships is often a theme that may have dogged you from early in your life. Narcissistic parents often compare siblings to each other, or even may imply that other children that you're not even related to are better than you. Oh, she's so much nicer to her mother. He does so much better in school, or whatever. There's always someone else with a narcissist. One relationship with one person just doesn't work for them. So yes, if you are in a narcissistic...
So pay heed to what the woman said, Dr. Ramani. One relationship is just not good enough for them. And I can tell you from personal experience, it isn't. This person needed multiple supplies of energy. All right. A lot of times what they'll do is, like, let's say, for example, if they need to pay their rent and they're short on money, they know who to go to, which person to go to, whether it be male or female, that's going to help them out to pay their rent. If they're low on funds for their car note, they know who to go to for that. If they want somebody that's going to be able to listen to them and be able to talk and give them some advice or whatever, they know who to go to for any little thing that they need. And that's why they have these multiple energy supplies, because being committed to one person is impossible from their perspective, because they don't have no empathy. They don't have no compassion. So being committed to one person is damn near impossible for them because they lack so much confidence or whatever. So keep that in mind, people, because this thing is serious. This is not something to be taken lightly. You know, there's plenty of people throughout the United States and around the world that unfortunately many of our brothers and sisters have lost their lives being in relationships with people like this, where, you know, the significant other, male or female, comes home and finds this person in their bed sleeping with this person. And next thing you know, it all goes wrong. Sometimes the people get killed. I mean, it could lead to so many different things. People go to jail over stuff like this. And this is why I do what I do, because it's very important for you to get away from these people, because these people are vile. They are demonic in their nature. You're dealing with principalities here. And the way you deal with these types of people is not only detach yourself, but get deeply rooted in having a relationship with the Most High. Get rooted into the Word, because I could tell you that some of the brothers, they counseled me after this situation I went through. It was the very words coming from the Most High, coming from scriptures, that really brought peace to the rage. And I'm talking about heavy rage that I was experiencing within the very essence of who I was. I was starting to lose myself and starting to think that I was going to go back to my old self, the old self that I had put to rest. But that old self that I had put to rest was starting to pump their fists out the grave, and then another fist out the grave. And once both fists came out the grave, that's when the Most High looked out for me, gave me that counsel with the brothers that I was counseling with. And I'm going to tell you, it was beautiful. It was literally, the rage literally just started to diminish and dissipate like a vapor. And it just slowly, like if there was a level of rage that was up here, just slowly the meter just started going down and down as I kept reading different scriptures. I was reading Ephesians. I was reading Proverbs and so many other books that it was so beautiful. Now, that's something that I went through. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to do the same thing, but you definitely have to have some grounding spiritually. You have to, because this force that they have is very dark. And it's not something you're just going to deal with physically, people. There's so much more to this. And this is why I'm doing this, because somebody like this woman probably knows this, but she's going to talk about it from a clinical psychologist and give you, the clinical terms and the ways to see this, which is great. But there's also a spiritual part to this that we have to be aware of. Let's continue.
Relationship. Whether in how they talk about people or whether there actually is, it always feels like there's someone else in the relationship with you. Like I said, it's always a threesome. Maybe not literally, but the third parties are always lingering out there somewhere, whether you're being compared to them, whether they're being stared or flirted with, whether they're actually in a relationship with them. And that may not be what you signed up for. Listen, there are people out there who prefer 3 people in a relationship, and that's fine. I mean, I think people need to do what works for them, as long as everyone in that relationship is consenting and comfortable.
Yeah, you people that are doing polygamy and having, open relationship, because I knew a brother who had 2 women, and those 2 women were sleeping with each other. It was a trinity that they had. And of course, it didn't last, but I just don't get it. Like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And for me, being a man, dealing with one woman is enough work for me. I don't need to have 2 or 3 at the same time. Oh, no, thank you. Don't not sign me up for that.
But modally, most people are dyadic, 2 people in a relationship, and believe that when they enter into an intimate relationship with someone, that it is a 2-person show. Triangulated relationships always leave people off balance for all of the reasons that I have shared. When you're in a narcissistic relationship and you're in the fading days of the love bombing phase, that idea that someone else could get the intensity that you just got can lead you to really fight for the relationship, despite the red flags you're experiencing. You don't want someone.
And from personal experience, I could tell you that I went through that phase. Very short-lived, but I went through that phase. I even went through a phase where I had to tell my friend Billy Izzy, who is a life coach. And by the way, shout outs to Billy Izzy and his wife, Maggie. They have a newborn, beautiful baby girl that was born a couple of days ago. She was born on Sunday. Was it yesterday? Or no, Saturday on the Sabbath. So, yes, all praises to the Most High for Salome, their daughter, beautiful little baby girl. And I wish them the best. And all natural birth, too. Nothing injected, no science appliance, nothing. So, all praises to the Most High for that. But as I was telling Billy, like, I was at a point where I was telling Billy, like, I was like, hey, I think I believe her. Even though I had a ton of red flags, I wanted to believe her. And I started giving her the benefit of the doubt and actually start, like, being so upset that I didn't want it to end or to have somebody else share what I thought I had, that I was actually looking at it from a different perspective. And boy, was I delusional. But eventually I woke up, and I woke up pretty fast. And that's why it's important to have a support system, because they can wake you up pretty quickly if you have the right people around you. Because they're seeing something you don't want to see, pretty much in a nutshell.
Someone else to have that excitement. Or you may feel like you're living in an alternate universe where a narcissistic partner chronically assumes that you are unfaithful, even when you're not. And you spend much of your time reassuring the partner and living a more and more isolated life so as to not set off the narcissistic partner.
Very, very true. Because they are constantly gaslighting you so much that you want to reassure them, because you've been gaslighted. Hey, I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm not doing this. Oh, who just called you? Oh, that was my brother. Oh, that was my sister. That was my mom. Like, you start to become this person that has to, basically reassure them that you're not doing nothing wrong. When meantime, while you're doing that, they are doing everything wrong to you. And you're busy kind of reassuring them and even asking for forgiveness for something that you wasn't even thinking of doing. This is why I tell you people, this thing is serious. This thing is serious. brothers and sisters. This is not to be taken lightly. And this is a particular subject when it comes to narcissism that is very popular these days because, especially here in the United Shenanigans of America, narcissism is in an all-time rise, especially with women. Before, it used to be a man thing. Now it's a woman thing, and it's steadily increasing. So you got men and women around here that I wouldn't be surprised that 60% of society is narcissistic to some degree. Matter of fact, Dr. Romney talks about all the time that in order to be a successful person here in the United States and accumulate a lot of wealth, you have to be narcissistic. That's why some of the most narcissistic people are the most wealthiest, most successful people in business.
Or you find yourself, if you're in a narcissistic relationship, wondering, after a lot of shady behavior from a partner, if that business trip that your partner is taking again is really a business trip. Or you feel constantly like you aren't measuring up to these other people that are in the narcissist's life, mostly because they compare you to them and leave you feeling like you're not. Because, like I said, just about every narcissistic relationship is a threesome that you didn't agree to. It means that people in these relationships end up expending a lot of bandwidth ruminating and wondering and worrying. And more than anything else, feeling not enough. It's not what you signed up for. I don't think it's what anyone signs up for. And it's exhausting.
Hell no, we didn't sign up for that.
In a narcissistic relationship, in addition to the narcissistic abuse and all that goes along with it, that third person or more in the relationship, you did not bargain for them either. And that's also tiresome. So let me know what your thoughts are about whether you think narcissistic relationships.
Well done, Dr. Romney, as always. This lady gives. And I suggest that if you're somebody that's dealing with this, definitely check her information out because it is wonderful. It is wonderful, people. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat here on YouTube. It says, man, sorry you had to go through that. I knew something wasn't right for real. Yeah. You know, and it's interesting, sister. A lot of people were telling me that. A lot of people was like, this woman's not right. You know what I mean? Like, you're moving too fast and all this stuff. But, you know, and I was talking to Brother Take One about this, you know, because just like the other narcissist that gaslighted me on his platform, which some of you may know who it is. We don't mention his name on this show, but everything this man was saying about me was straight lies, you know, but people are so conforming and they don't have a mind of their own. They just conform to what a lot of these people say and they don't question anything, which is kind of sad. But it had to happen that way because what it really did for me was it helped me to understand that I have to set boundaries, that I have to get out of certain situations for my own well-being, which I did, especially spiritually. So I'm just super grateful for all this stuff that happened. Because if it didn't happen, I still would be on that platform. I still would be with this toxic woman, you know, and I would still be living a lie that the Most High did not intend me to live. So I have to always say that when you're praying and you should be praying regardless. But when you're in these types of toxic environments with these type of toxic people, we got to pray on it, people. We got to pray. We got to ask for guidance from the higher power, from our Creator. Because that's the only way that I truly believe that you can get out of this. Like, you know, listening to psychologists and getting counsel from coaches, that's all great. And that's going to help out tremendously. And I definitely suggest it for everyone involved when seeking out this counsel and support. But get your support from the Most High. Get your support spiritually with that connection that you have intentionally with the Most High and no one else. Because that's where the real guidance begins. And that's where the real guidance is going to end. Because it really doesn't ever end, right? And I can tell you that I'm super grateful I'm so grateful in the sense that, man, I'm just looking forward to what's to come. Even this person that I met, regardless of whatever happens from it, I just know what to look for now. You know what I mean? Like the next woman that I get with, like I know that there's no more benefits of the doubt. I know that I have to set up very healthy boundaries in getting to know these people or this person. And whether it be in an intimate relationship, whether it be at a job, whether it be in a project that I'm working on, because I don't really have a job per se. I work for myself and I take freelance projects, but whoever I'm dealing with, whether I'm interviewing somebody on the show, if I do a preliminary interview like I do when I interview people on my show, and I get any type of narcissistic vibes, I'm going to tell that person like, I don't think this is going to work out. I'm going to keep it moving, man, because I don't want to give a narcissist any shine. My whole purpose when I do these series is to expose them and to save you, to save the person who has empathy, to save the person who has compassion, to give them some type of an awareness so that they can be saved, so that they can get out of this extremely toxic situation that is going to lead them down the dark path that they're already on, and even into more darkness, okay? Keep that in mind, because I was sleeping with the enemy for a little bit, and now that I'm not, life is so much better. And like I told you, sometimes it's hard to leave these people for a number of reasons. And fortunately for me, it was a little bit easier than it is for others. So I don't want you to think that it's very easy to do this, because it's not. I was fortunate enough to where the foundation of our relationship was more established digitally, more established long distance. I think that was the saving grace in all of it, is that it wasn't intimate every single day. And the crazy part is that we were working towards that, or at least I thought we were. And I was literally going to move in with this person. And all praise to the Most High that I didn't, because, it might have been a different situation for me to, a different hole or a deeper hole to climb out of. And maybe I wouldn't have. But all praises to the Most High that I did. And I hope that you do the same, brothers and sisters, because you owe it to yourself to be content and to be happy with people that are going to truly love and respect you just as much as you love and respect yourself. And the last thing I'm going to say is this. When getting to know somebody in a relationship, when you're dating, okay, to all my brothers and sisters that are going to be dating or are still dating, set the tone. And there's a quote that I have read from somebody from a Light and Core on Instagram. Be exactly how you are going to be and how you should be. Respect yourself so much that you set that example of how to respect and love yourself, so that the person that's dating you gets to see how much you love yourself and how much you have respect for yourself, that they already have the example. And if they can't follow that example, then hit the road, Jack. But if they can follow that example, then you are going to have a very fulfilling relationship with that person, because they're going to know what it takes to keep you in their life so that you can contribute to what they got going on, because they know how to contribute to who you are and what you got going on. So brothers and sisters, play some music here real quick. And I'm going to end my broadcast here on the live. So brothers and sisters, the last thing I want to say, right? Be aware of the narcissists, because these malignant narcissists like I was with, they are toxic individuals, and we have to expose them. And that's what I'm going to continue to do here on the Network of Awareness. So when you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness, brothers and sisters. This is all the informationalist saying peace, love, and light, Barakatah, peace and blessings, and all praises to the Most High. All praise to our great creator of that which is and always will be. Let's go.
concludes the Network of Awareness podcast. For more information on the Network of Awareness, please subscribe via email to our website, networkofawareness.com, and follow us on Spreaker.com or any other listening apps you use. For any questions about the NOA, email us at aura@networkofawareness.com. Thank you for listening to one of the fastest growing podcast shows on society and culture in America and abroad. When you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. Peace and blessings.